Hey y'all, it's Heel Heat time.
Hi everybody and welcome to Heel Heat. My name is George Coles and this is our WWE show for the week. Let's jump right into it. First with the so-so segments of the night, the stuff that's not bad, not good, just really there. First thing I want to talk about, Daniel Bryan, Triple H, Stephanie, and Kane. Yup. Daniel Bryan in a so-so segment. I'm just sick and tired of the same old thing over and over again. Stop it. Either Triple H is going to wrestle him at WrestleMania, or he's not. Simple as that. Stop giving us the Bryan calls out Triple H screws out Bryan story. Enough already. We've been teased properly. Give us a payoff. Next up, the Alberto Del Rio versus Dolph Ziggler match, with Ziggler winning with an assist from Aaron Paul. It's funny how not even a year ago these two guys were at the top of the card. Now they're floundering. They've taken a guy that people really cared about like Ziggler, and they've made him someone where he's just on the show. He's not really a highlight, not a lowlight, he's just there. And then they put him in any situation. He doesn't really have storylines. It's just two guys I think that they don't have any idea what they need to do with right now. And it's obvious by the way they're booking them. Speaking of the booking, again, another thing that was kind of a rehash from the week before, Cena talking about the Wyatt family. We just seen this last week, except for at the end last week, the Wyatts jumped Cena. I know it's all setting up a big match at WrestleMania. I understand that, but it's almost like they have things that they slot into certain positions and they just say, okay, go out there and do this. Next up, the weird 80s style promo presentation of Alexander Rusev. Hey, I don't know. I think it's kind of odd that with the political climate we're in right now, and I don't want to go too far off on a tangent, this ain't CNN or C-SPAN or Fox News. This is Heel Heat. I don't know if a character like this is so much in good taste anymore. It's basically the character from Rocky IV that Dolph Lundgren played, with a little bit of a twist to it. And, I don't know. Just, it would have worked well in the 80s. I don't think it's a gimmick or a character that's going to work well now. Rusev's pretty impressive. I've seen him wrestle a little bit down in NXT. But just, I don't know, it just felt weird to me. And last but not least in the So-So segment, and I'm probably going to get murdered for this, the second time we're putting them on the So-Sos this week, Daniel Bryan in the main event versus Batista. Absolutely did not care about this match. And it's sad because Daniel Bryan did his best to carry it to a decent match. It really was. And then we get the Randy Orton interferes, the Authority, Triple H, Stephanie and Kane come down. We're left with another Monday Night Raw where the Authority is standing over a beat-down Daniel Bryan. Something that they moved away from for a little bit and now they're going right back to. And he's the best talent they have on the roster, the most over talent they have, and they can't come up with anything better than this. Now going off of that, we're going to go into our bad segment, stuff I just flat out didn't like. First off, Fandango and Summer Rae versus Santino and Emma. Emma is a lot better than what they're letting her portray on TV. All you had to do to see that was watch NXT Ascension with her, or I'm sorry, not Ascension, Arrival. Ascension's a tag team in NXT. Her versus Paige from that shows off just how good of a wrestler she really is. You could sprinkle in a little bit of the goofiness with her character, but you're going all the way goofy with her and Santino. I don't know, I think the thing that bothers me so much about this, and I don't want to knock Santino, he's good at what he does, he really is, but I think Emma's a better character than to be teamed with him. It worked okay for girls like Maria Kanellis, Beth Phoenix. Beth Phoenix's story kind of worked because she was so far polar opposite of him. Maria, it worked with her because she wasn't a great wrestler. All she had was the goofy gimmick. Summer Rae and Fandango, I don't know why they're being saddled down into feuds like this where they could be... I mean, Fandango's a guy that the crowd will get behind. I don't get it. And Summer Rae, the more I see her, the more she improves in the ring. I don't know. Just to me, the whole thing had a bad taste in my mouth because it put three people that I think could be doing something into a lower level feud. And Santino and Emma pick up the win, obviously, because how else would it go? Next up, we have Christian, the newly heel Christian, versus Sheamus. Could there be two guys? This is much like Ziggler and Del Rio earlier in the night, where you got two former world champions that they absolutely have no idea what to do with on the show, so they let them go out there and wrestle and have a passable match that no one really cares about. I didn't enjoy it. I think this is a regression of Sheamus' character. Sheamus last year improved, and the year before improved by leaps and bounds in his style and his in-ring capabilities. This is a regression going back to 3-4 years ago in his feud with Christian. I guarantee you, if you looked hard enough, you could find this exact same match 3-4 years ago. I don't know, and to me, I don't know if Christian's mailing it in or if he's working injured or he knows it's the end of the line, but he just doesn't seem to be the same Christian he's always been. Of course, Sheamus picks up the win. What a surprise there. Next up, we have the Bella Twins versus Oksana and Alicia. I don't hate women's wrestling, guys. I really don't. I wish it was better. I wish the Divas division was better. I wish we could get better matches in this. I wish we could have better storylines. Alicia Fox is a capable wrestler. Oksana, she's good at what she is. She's decent. She's not horrible. You know, they could be put into good storylines. The Bellas, very erratic. They've gotten better. They've improved. It's just that they get put in these stupid matches that don't help anybody. Nobody looks good coming out of this. The Bellas pick up the win in a match that no one will give a shit about. And that's the problem. No one cares about the Divas division because it's not being booked that people should care about it. Next up we have, before we go into our good segment, we're going to go into the question of the week for this week, or last week. The question was, who is your all-time favorite announcer? Before I get into my opinion, we're going to give some from our friends. First is from our friend Benjamin Me. I hope I'm pronouncing that last name right. Hi, in my opinion, Jim Ross is the greatest commentator ever. At his best, he was silent when nothing needed to be said. He added emotion to matches. He can make you worry. He can make you happy with his voice, only his voice. A key example would be his exceptional skills come from matches like Kurt Angle vs. Shawn Michaels at Mania 21. My favorite part is the beginning when they're mat-based chain wrestling and JR puts it all into context. I think he is mostly quiet through the action of that stage of the match and only talks during low spots. In comparison, when Cole does the commentary for Angle vs. Guerrero match at WrestleMania 20, which starts similar to Mania 21 match, and Cole is just a distraction, talks about things that don't need to be said. JR was amazing. Mouthful there, but I see you guys probably get the point. He's going with JR. It's from our friend over on Twitter at AUP116. On the question of the week, King JR, and I know you give him crap, but Tony Schiavone, I'm a WCW guy, so I put him on there. We all like our own little things. I'm not going to begrudge you for liking Tony Schiavone. If you like him, you like him. Some people like things that I don't like. I like things that others don't like. Next one from our friend Bastards.gaming, Jim Ross without a doubt. Next is from our friend Cyan Williams. Jim Ross is a no-brainer, but like Joey Styles, I like Joey Styles. How cool would it have been if he had commentary on some of the old classic matches like The Undertaker versus Mankind in Hell in a Cell? I think that'd be awesome. I think his love for Mick Foley and his friendship with Mick Foley would add such a dramatic flavor. Kind of like JR. JR and Mick Foley, there's no hiding that they were friends. So I believe he would have brought the same kind of emotion into it. Next is from our friend Infinite Skittles. Jim Ross by a country mile, but for some reason I love Matt Striker. I just love to hear him talk. I agree with Matt Striker. He was a lot better than what they allowed him to be. The reason I like Matt Striker, he know what the name of the freaking moves are. Call the moves by their goddamn names. Let us know what you're doing in there. Let us know why you're doing it in there. He does it. Taz, when he's on at the best of Taz is when he does that as well. When he says, okay, this is a judo style arm bar. This puts pressure on your shoulder, your elbow. It could pop your muscle out. It gives you real definition and meaning and makes a move like an arm bar look more dangerous than it really is. And Matt Striker's the same way. And last but not least, our friend Dizzlepup, JR. I did like Vince's commentary on the old WWF Warzone game. Tony Schiavone was so bad, I swear he downed 8 Red Bulls before every screening. He built everything up way too much. And that's the problem I have with Schiavone. He was a capable announcer. He was actually pretty good from the mid-'80s when we first see him in Jim Crockett Promotions all the way up to Nitro when Eric Bischoff takes over and then he becomes the overwhelming hype machine. Up until then, he was a very capable announcer, but that's the reason I don't like him. I didn't like the overwhelming hype machine, and I really don't like the Mick Foley thing that they did, which he was part of, even if he says he, was just taking orders. I'm going to say my favorite, and I'm going to go in two different directions here. It was mentioned a little bit. Joey Styles is my absolute favorite commentator of all time. Other than Gordon Soley, one of the few commentators, and Lance Russell did it from time to time, that could stand out on his own and keep you captivated with just his voice. Like they said about JR in here, he knew when to hold back from talking, he knew when to talk, he knew when to call the moves, he knew what to call the moves, he knew what emotion needed to be added, he knew what emotion needed to be taken away. He was just spot on. And part of the reason why ECW was such a great little promotion that it was Joey Styles and his calling. Think about it like this. The one thing that I think holds Ring of Honor back is their lack of a great commentator. Ring of Honor puts on the best matches on television, any televised wrestling show. However, they got Kevin Kelly as their announcer, who's at his very best was a third or fourth rate WWE guy. So imagine a Joey Styles calling Ring of Honor, how much he would bring to that product. I'm just saying Joey Styles made the product seem more than what it was. Joey Styles made guys like Balls Mahoney, like New Jack, like the Sandman, who had very limited in-ring wrestling skills and they're credible wrestlers. And he made credible wrestlers even more credible with the way he called them. Now, and I also want to bring up, and I'm seeing that the age of our friends here is a little bit younger than I am, but I think the greatest announced team of all time, everybody wants to say JR and the King. I don't think you're ever going to see a better announced team than Bobby the Brain Heenan and Gorilla Monsoon. Separately, they were good. They were good with their other partners. Together, greatest announced team I've ever seen in anything. I don't care if you're talking wrestling. I don't care if you're talking football. I don't care if you're talking hockey, basketball, baseball, NASCAR, whatever you want to put announcer behind, Bobby the Brain Heenan and Gorilla Monsoon is the greatest announced team, bar none, anything, anywhere on the planet. Just my opinion. Now, our question of the week for this week is going to be, who is the first referee that comes to your mind? I just want to know the first one. I don't want to know your favorite. When I say the word referee, I want to know who the first person that comes to your mind is. Let us know what you think. Hit us up on Facebook. Hit us up on Twitter. Put it down where? Down in the comments. Right down there somewhere. Should be like under that little bar that's promoting something or other. You know. Down there though somewhere. You hit the thumbs up, the like button, the share button, all that stuff. Put down in the comments your comment. Now back to the show. Our good segment of the week, the stuff I really liked. I thoroughly enjoyed the opening segment with Paul Heyman coming out, addressing the CM Punk issue right off the bat, trying to quell it, trying to put a damper on the crowd hijacking the show. They did have their times. I think without this promo, it would have been a lot worse. And the way he spun it, from turning CM Punk and blaming it on The Undertaker so he could spin it 360 degrees onto what Brock Lesnar is going to do with The Undertaker, was absolutely fantastic. And then they keep the crowd involved, and they keep the crowd interested with bringing out Mark Henry and having Brock Lesnar destroy him through the table. Again, if you want a crowd to chant for something, show them something that they will chant for. If you don't want them to chant CM Punk, give them Mark Henry getting destroyed by Brock Lesnar, something you can't help but cheer for. Give them Paul Heyman doing what Paul Heyman does best, sitting in the ring with a live mic bullshitting. He's the greatest bullshitter in the history of wrestling. He's one of the greatest talkers in the history of wrestling. And you've seen him Monday night. He was probably one of the reasons why that show wasn't totally drowned out by CM Punk chants. Now next up, the thing that probably one of my two, I would say this was my favorite match of the night. That's the New Age Outlaws versus the Usos. Usos finally pick up the win, finally get a well-deserved tag team title run to one of the best tag teams that they've had over the last 10 years. The Uso brothers, so deserving, so fluid, so great in their matches. I mean, these guys, and I know they're brothers, and I know they've been together their whole life, but these guys are a well-oiled machine, and it's amazing what they can do in the ring, and how they do it, and how they keep you interested. Kudos to the Usos. About time WWE put it on them. I always thought that the New Age Outlaws were just a conduit between the Rhodes brothers and the Uso brothers anyway. Next up, we're going to talk about two matches, and I'm going to mash into one. Basically the same thing, twice on the night. Big E Langston versus Cesaro first. Swagger gets involved, causing Cesaro the match, much like last week. Later on the night, we see Big E versus Jack Swagger, and before anything even happened, Cesaro gets involved, causing Swagger the match. Then we hear Zeb Coulter makes him shake hands, hug it out. So we're seeing the rift, we're seeing the slow breakaway of Swagger and Cesaro, where Cesaro is going to go on to be a megastar, and hopefully Jack Swagger will find his way again and get back into contention. But it's obvious who the Jannetty and who the Michaels are of this group. Cesaro is going to be the Shawn Michaels. Jack Swagger is the Marty Jannetty. Next but not least, two teams of 6 men that I don't think have any Jannetties on either side. The Shield versus the Wyatts again, rematch. This time, Seth Rollins walks out on the team. Surprising fashion. The guy that's the architect of the Shield, the guy that's the glue that's held it together, tells Reigns and Ambrose to figure it out. They seem to do so for a little bit, but then get overwhelmed by the Wyatt family. A good match. Another step in the progression of breaking the Shield up. I hate that they're going to break the Shield up. I think they're such a great faction. However, it's inevitable. All three of the guys are meant to be solo stars. Seth Rollins in the past few weeks has been absolutely off his rocker, awesome. Roman Reigns, he's got it times a million. Dean Ambrose seems like you took the best parts of Brian Pillman, the best parts of Hot Rod Roddy Piper, you put them in a blender, blended them up, put a little bit of Heath Ledger from the Joker in there, and came out with Dean Ambrose. I mean, all three of them have such great talents on. It's going to be sad to see the Shield go because it's such a great angle and such a great group. But I'm so excited to see what all three of these guys can do on their own. Much like the Wyatts, who were a little bit shorter on their legacy. They've not been on the main show as long as the Shield. It's going to be sad when they break up, but I think you're going to see 3 stars come out of that as well. Last but not least, my favorite thing about the entire show, Paul Bearer, a.k.a. Percy Pringle III, is going into the Hall of Fame. Such a deserving guy. The Undertaker is not The Undertaker without Paul Bearer. Mankind isn't as over in the WWE without Paul Bearer. Kane's not over in the WWE without Paul Bearer. Countless other guys that he managed in world-class championship wrestling as Percy Pringle III, a younger Undertaker, as Mark Callis, as The Punisher, Steve Austin, Mick Foley, or no, he didn't manage Mick there, but he had Rick Rude there. You know, the guy had such a great mind for the business, and he could sell whoever was with him. Whoever you put with Paul Bearer, whoever you put with Percy Pringle III, they were automatically a star because they were associated with him. And such a deserving guy. The only thing that's sad about it is he didn't live long enough to see himself go into the Hall of Fame. Very deserving. One of the most deserving managers in the history of wrestling. One of the all-time great managers. One of the great characters in wrestling history. One of the most memorable people that you'll ever see on the show. I mean, everybody remembers his shrill voice with, "Oh, yes, my Undertaker." Everybody can do that. Everybody does a version of it. Mine was probably horrible. Everybody else's is too. No one could beat Paul Bearer, but Paul Bearer, most deserving. I'm so proud and so happy that they put him in the Hall of Fame. Now, coming off of that, we're going to do our ratings for the week. You know, we have a 1 to 5 scale. 1's the worst, 5's the best. 1's a Great Khali, 2's a Santino, 3's a Damien Sandow, 4's a Cesaro, 5's a Daniel Bryan. I'm giving this show a 3. A Sandow. Some good, a lot of so-so, a little bit of bad. Average show, could have been a lot worse if the crowd hijacked it. Could have been a lot better if CM Punk showed up. But other than that, just a middle-of-the-road show, honestly. Nothing that's really going to change the course of history happening on the show. It was just there. But basically, that's all I have to say about this. My name is George Coles, and this has been another episode of Heel Heat.